Hey, good evening. Welcome to our sixth graders and to their families to our Horizon Middle School sixth grade parent webinar. I'm Josh Wolcott. I have the privilege to be the principal here at Horizon. I just want to thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight as we talk about welcoming our sixth graders back to in-person learning. We'll go around and have some other introductions. I'll introduce Mr. Rick Daly. He's from the Central Valley School District District Office. He's our finance director. He's here to help moderate the webinar tonight.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm Jason Franczyk. I'm the assistant principal at Horizon Middle School. This is my 7th year here, and so anyways, just very excited to get students back. And anyways, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jennifer Ashlock, and I'm the counselor at Horizon Middle School. Thank you for joining us this evening. We are very excited to have your students back in our building, and we'll be talking about this evening of how we're going to be collaborating with you so they will continue to be successful at Horizon.
Again, thank you for being here. The gist of the evening is to share just information of the process and procedures and protocols and safeguards that we have in place as we welcome our sixth graders back, as well as just try to answer what we can as far as Q&As. And so at the bottom of the screen, you should have a Q&A button that you're able to answer questions, and we'll seek to respond to those questions as we go throughout the evenings. Particularly at the end, we'll have a Q&A portion where we respond to some of those questions. But first of all, we do want to just welcome you and welcome our sixth graders back. It's, one, we just appreciate what they've been through as they transition to middle school and have yet to be in the school. But thank you for the support of parents and families and students as well. And of course, the teachers to help make this a successful start to the year for them, even though it's been, for the most part, all done virtually. And so we are excited to have them back, to welcome students in to our new building, to show them what Horizon looks like, and just welcome them as middle schoolers to their middle school. And so we, of course, are excited about that, and yet recognize that as we do this, safety in this time is our top priority. And we are, committed to that, to making this transition as safe as possible and following the procedures and safeguards as outlined, so that as students come back, as into the school setting, that it's done so in a safe way that protects students and staff and ultimately families that are connected with those students and staff. So with that, we're going to jump into a PowerPoint. We'll share our screen and we'll just take some turns to work through some of these things. And then we will do what we can to answer questions here at the end as we welcome our sixth graders back this week to school. So as we, welcome our students back, there's some things that we would ask that parents might do to help make this a smooth transition for them coming back. One, just having a conversation with them, ask them how they're feeling about it, how it's going for them, what are they excited about, what are they nervous about, both as just coming into middle school, but also as they're coming into school at this time where they've been virtual. They know some of their classmates, but yet don't know some of their classmates because some of them they haven't seen in person before. Some other things that we'll be asking them to do, and we'd hope that you would help them understand, is that idea of practicing wearing masks, washing their hands, making sure they might understand some of the symptoms that might be associated with COVID, so that you can process with them in the mornings and so forth, to make sure that students aren't being sent to school when they're sick or have symptoms or things like that. And so just to be mindful of that as parents and as students is one of the things that we would hope that as you prepare for this transition, that at least have a discussion with your students about.
All right, I just want to talk a little bit about safety expectations. Thursday and Friday we'll have our A/B split groups. When your student arrives, they will come through one of our doors. It'll be the south doors will be for bussers and walkers, and the east doors will be for valet, that's parent drop-off. Each student who comes through the doors will have a health screening done where their temperature will be taken. And so we just want to make sure that everything there is in check and they're in the normal range. So just please make sure that each day you send your student with an attestation form that's filled out. That solves a lot of issues as far as once students get here, if they don't have them, then we need to reach out to you to make sure that they're okay and so forth. So our staff, we're trained, we're ready to go as far as having them come, whether it's the valet or whether it's taking temperatures when they get off the bus, or walkers who might come. Just a reminder about walkers. If your student does walk, we do ask that if they're walking with a group of kids, we would kind of discourage that. But if they are, that if they're not from the same household, that they would wear a mask coming to school. And so when they check in on that south side, they go through that protocol of taking a temperature. We'd bring them into the building. We are having a rolling start, as you know, so our rolling start will be from 8:30 to 8:50. 8:50 will be the start time of school. So whether you're valet or whether there's bussers or walkers, students will not come into the building until 8:30. So just plan accordingly. If you're valeting, there'll be plenty of time to get people through. If you're here before 8:30, we will take your student's temperature, mark their attestation sheet, and we'll just have them wait in the car till 8:30. Once 8:30 is out, we'll excuse those students to come out and you can pull away and we'll have a new group of parents fill those spots. Of course, we're going to be practicing, we'll have masks and social distancing. We'll have supervisors out there to make sure that that's happening, both outside and inside of the school. Our students are grouped fairly tightly in cohorts, so first and third are the same kids. We've tried to group them so that during second period, during those elective times, they have the same, but there are some nuances because not everyone's in band and not everyone is in all of the same electives, but we've tried to group those students together the best that we can. We will keep you posted if a student becomes ill or goes home ill, or if a student does test positive for COVID. That will come in the form of a text and an email so that you're updated as to what's going on. We follow really tight protocols here in the building. So if we have a student who is sick or goes home sick, we move students to a different classroom for 24 hours. If we find out that a student has tested positive for COVID, we would actually have a professional cleaning service come in and clean that classroom before students would go back in. So just a little bit about those protocols. We just want to make sure that students are safe and that they're able to stay here at school. This next slide shows a little bit, it shows our parent valet drop-off and pickup. You'll see that's on the east side of the building. If you kind of follow those arrows as you come in, we would like you to pull all the way around for that drop-off, all the way around to kind of this part of the curb here before it flares out on the east side. And then from there, just park all the way around, and then we will temperature check your child as you're pulled up alongside the sidewalk. We want to make sure that students are getting off on the sidewalk and not being dropped off in the parking lot. So please make sure that we check your student's temperature, that it's 8:30, and then we'll start to release students to come through the main doors. With pickup, we will do the same thing. You can come in through the east parking lot as you do. A lot like our elementary schools, we'll have a staff member out there to greet you, and then we will put your student's number, pickup number that's on a hanger that you received. And as that happens, then that will go into a Google sheet within the classrooms, and your student's name will populate on that list, and they'll be excused to come out and get in the car. So that should work really well. Dismissal will start at 2:05, and we have a rolling dismissal from 2:05 until 3 o'clock. So there's plenty of time to get everyone in and out of the building. Okay, what you see here is the south side entrance of Horizon Middle School. This is where our bus drop-off and pickup will be, as well as walkers and late arrivals. So if you were a valet parent and you came after 8:50 and staff isn't out there, you would come park in the parking lot here on the south side and bring your student in, and we'll check them in here. Bus drop-off pickups will also be here. If you have a student who walks, this will also be the place where they'll get in line to enter the building. Just ask that you please, again, send that attestation form so that we don't have to make a phone call home. If they have that slip and they're normal, then we can get them into class quickly and more efficiently. All right, if a student has symptoms, this has not changed for quite a while, but there are two classes of symptoms within COVID, kind of your primary and then your secondary. So your class A symptoms, that fever of 100.4 or higher, a cough, a loss of sense, taste or smell, or that shortness of breath, those are class A symptoms. So if a student had these symptoms, they would go down to this part of the box here. Student would be isolated for 10 days after symptoms onset unless a student receives a negative COVID test. Your healthcare provider provides documentation of an alternative diagnosis test. Or if you chose to not go to the doctor, it would just be that 10-day quarantine from school. On a class B symptom, the fatigue, headache, body aches, chills, sore throat, congestion, nausea, diarrhea, and so forth. If a student just has one of those symptoms during the day, they would go home. However, if that was better after 24 hours on the next day of the start of school, they'd be welcome to come back to school. The caveat to that would be if, let's say, a student had a headache and they were fatigued, they had two class B symptoms, then they would go to that protocol of the 10-day quarantine unless they had a negative test for COVID-19. So just kind of a heads up on that. One other piece, because the numbers within the county are still high enough, if you have a student at another school in CV, say you have one here at Horizon and you had one at Chester or Ponderosa, that other sibling would also have to go home. So if it was a class A, you'd have to go through that 10-day quarantine piece or be tested or have an alternative diagnosis. If it was just one class B symptom, if your student was better within the next day, then both students could, or those siblings could return back to school. So at Horizon, I am the COVID coordinator this year. So if you have questions that come up, please feel free to ask me. You can email me or give me a call. Our district COVID coordinator is Brian Asmus, and his phone number is there, 558-5407. He's also excellent. He's an excellent source for any questions that you might have that come up. So we're here to support, and we just want to make sure that you know, school is a safe place to be, and we have protocols in place for your student so that they can be here and learn and come back. So I'm so glad they're coming back. I'm very excited. I'm honored to serve here at Horizon and just look forward to seeing everyone come back this Thursday and Friday. So thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Franczyk. Just, you know, some of this information that we share now is some of the information that we've been putting out with the parent handbook that came with the packet, also was emailed out this afternoon. So, you know, some of you, if you've not gotten your packet, feel free to, you know, if you get a chance tomorrow to stop by the office, you're welcome to do so. And of course, we will be passing out those packets if anybody didn't pick them up on the first day of school. But as we phase in our students into school, we are doing the A-B schedule. We're going to do our students that are cohort A again on Thursday of this week, and then Tuesday of next week, and our cohort B students on Friday of this week and Wednesday of next week, with all of our students coming back on Thursday, the 21st. And the reason for this phased-in approach is just a chance for smaller class sizes to be here as we go over protocols and processes for doing school in a COVID environment, as well as being able to just be able to build relationships with students and get to know our students. Even though we know them a little bit, it's different as we have them in person. So that is a big part of why we're doing that phased-in approach, for those two reasons. Some key points I think that has been shared, but just to reiterate as we move towards Thursday, Our school day schedule has changed, will change a little bit from what it currently is. On Thursday morning, we'll make the change. The school day will start at 8:50 and go till 2:05. Again, as Mr. Francis was talking about, from 8:30 to 8:50 is kind of when students are able to be brought to school and dropped off, or they can arrive at school either walking or on the bus. They will report once they get through the screening process with the attestation forms and temperature checks. They'll report to their first period class with their first period teacher. And during that 8:30 to 8:50 time, they'll be part of extended learning time, where they might do some entry task or some work or assignment that's not necessarily part of the class, but could be doing some homework makeup or some extended character strong individual lessons, or a variety of things that will engage students in some learning that's not necessarily part of that first period class, but extends some of their learning for the day. Again, students are welcome to come anytime between that 8:30 and 8:50 time. And so with that, we will continue to operate our 3-period day schedule that we've been operating. We'll have 3 90-minute class periods. 6th graders will go to first period and second period, and then they'll have a lunch break between second and third period. And then they will go, at the end of the day. With all these transitions, we will be staggering students to maintain that social distancing and to help them, just maneuver through the building, because they will be moving from class to class. And they will have outlined in the hallways, there's outlined directional signs and protocols for students and staff to follow as they move throughout the building, so that they're, for the most part, walking in one direction, not passing people. And so the same with stairways, making sure that they're going up the right staircases and down the right staircases at the appropriate times. During lunchtime, they will be sitting in cohorts, so they will have an assigned seat where they're sitting with students from their first period class, which also happens to be the students from their third period class. We are working to get a mass break time to get students outside for part of that lunchtime once they're done eating. It might not happen the first couple days of school, but we'll be working towards that, so that the students can have some type of mass break and get outside in a social distance manner and enjoy some fresh air. So we're looking forward to that. Again, I think Mr. Francis talked about that idea of a rolling dismissal. Students can begin to dismiss at 2:05, and the way that that will be, again, in a staggered manner. So if you're a walker, we've already kind of established with teachers, hey, if you're a walker in this classroom, you'll be dismissed at this time. And it won't be too late after 2:05 that students will be dismissed if they're walkers. The busers will be dismissed when their buses arrive at the school. Again, it will be, hey, bus route 310's here. If you're, ride route 310, students are dismissed one at a time to maintain that social distance. Students that are in valet are getting picked up by parents. As you enter the parking lot, your number will be entered into a spreadsheet, and it will pop up at the board in the classroom, so your student knows that you're there. So by the time you loop around, hopefully it will be not a very long wait that the student will be walking out the door and be ready to go home. So we encourage parents to come 2:05, 2:15. Hopefully by about 2:20, we're 2:30 at the latest. We'll have this process so that we're not there too long. But we'll see how it goes. Obviously, the first few days when there's less students, as we get more students back at one time, obviously the process will probably take a little bit longer. But we're committed to working through it and working through the kinks and helping it to be successful. Some things and reminders to make sure to bring to school. If your students have a Chromebook that they've checked out from us, or if they have another device that's good for them to bring back and forth between home and school, if you can make sure it's charged every night and bring that back and forth. We will continue to do some of those online things through Blackboard, through Google Classroom, social studies textbooks that's online. Those things will still be accessed at school via the Chromebook and computer. So if you have a device, that would be fantastic. If your child doesn't have one, teachers are going to collect names on the first few days of school, that if they don't have a device that they're able to bring back and forth, and we'll work on finding a device that we can get checked out to you and see if we can make that happen for all of our students. As far as backpacks go and coats and things like that, they'll be taking them with them. They'll be at their tables or desks with them while they're in the classroom. Similar to, honestly, we did that at Old U High last year, so it'd be similar for our 7th and 8th graders. I know for 6th graders, they didn't have that experience, but there'll be room there underneath their tables for their backpacks and so forth. The other thing that we're strongly encouraging is for students to bring water bottles to school. They're not able to use the drinking fountains, so certainly want them to be able to have some water throughout the day. So water bottles are encouraged, and if we do have some water bottle fillers, so they can access those to refill the water bottles as well. I do want to just mention a couple classes. Music classes are going to be a little bit different. We're still working on the processes for that, but I know right now some of our 6th graders are in choir this quarter. They're not going to be able to sing at school in the classroom, just part of the restrictions that we'll have. So I know that Ms. Hadley Morgan's having them working with guitars and things like that. So we're working through that with students as we move into band. Some of those instruments that take, a mouthpiece or that you blow into, as we go into 3rd quarter, we're just going to have to work on some different protocols and activities for band. So just want students to be aware of that and somewhat prepared for that. I'm hopeful as we go throughout the year, things can get better as far as numbers go, and some of those restrictions might be adjusted. Same with health and fitness. We'll focus more on health education. We're going to have more low impact activities than what even they've been doing at home online, just because we can't do anything that's going to raise their heart rate or their breathing rate. And so there will be a lot of low impact things, but we're working on getting outside. So just know that our health and fitness teachers are really going to encourage us to be outside. Students won't be changing clothes or anything like that, but having a chance for them to get outside will be important. So encourage your students to dress for being outside a little bit if at all possible on days, even on some of the yesterday I think was a pretty nice day in the 40s. We probably have kids outside. And so we just encourage that, to be prepared for that with health and fitness classes. I'm going to turn some time over to Ms. Ashlock.
Thank you, Mr. Wolcott. We want you guys to know, we completely recognize this is your students' first day of school. And it's their transition to middle school. So they have their first transition to middle school in a virtual setting. This is their second transition to their pretty incredible new building. We're very aware of that. We want to help them have a very successful transition to school. There could be all different types of feelings: nervous, excited, anxious, a little concerned about COVID. We encourage you, talk to your students about what they're thinking, what they're feeling, listen to what they have to say. Please know you can reach out to us at any time, and we are happy to help. It takes a team to help our students to be successful at school, and you are an essential component to our team. Students will be receiving a packet the first day of school to be bringing home that will have your student information form in it and a health form and your in-person parent agreement. So when your students come home the first day of school, will you please ask them for that information? And if you could fill it out and return it when they come back, that would be fantastic. As we are coming to school, if there's anything we can do to help with this transition, anything we can do to help support your student, to help support you, please do not hesitate to reach out to your student's teacher or to us, because it's going to take all of us to work together to help everybody be successful at school. And again, I hope you're hearing the theme tonight. We're very excited for your students to come to our building, and we have taken time to put precautions in place so that everybody remains safe.
Thanks, Ms. Ashlock. Mr. Daly, we're going to turn some time over to Mr. Daly. He's been kind of monitoring some of the questions and see if he has any that for us to tackle.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wolcott. Some of the questions that have come up, we'll hit on a few of those this evening. So one of the first questions, what happens when the child is sent home for 10 days? What do they do about homework, and do they do Zoom?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's part of what we've kind of built in for this year is that idea of being able to do virtually, learning as well as in-person learning. And so some of that will depend on what the teacher is doing and what the plan is for the teacher. I know that even coming back, we have some students who are, unfortunately not able to be at school right away. And so part of that is connecting with the teacher and kind of developing a plan of what that will look like, depending on if it's one student who's out or maybe it's several students out from the same classroom. So I think that will look different depending on the circumstance, but we'll work with the teacher and with the student and family to make the best option available to the student. So just reach out to the teachers or reach out to us. We'll be proactive in that as well as we talk about some of those quarantine issues that will arise.
Another question is, will there be staff, teachers helping direct students to the location of their classrooms, or how will they learn to navigate the school that first day that they're there?
I can take that. Yes, we have maps with arrows, so we have a flow traffic map within the school that the students will follow. We have arrows down on the floor. We're using dots within the hallway outside of classrooms so that students stay 6 feet apart. In the lunchroom where they have lunch, they will be 6 feet apart. So lots of precautions within the building so that that students aren't too close. Also, they'll be in cohorts, so they'll be together with pretty much the same group of kids throughout the day. The only nuance there is second periods. There are a few kids that have different electives, but we've tried to put all of those kids together for the most part.
Yeah,
Mr. Francis.
and I would add there that on the first day, we will have some of our 7th and 8th grade teachers they're excited to see students too, even though they won't have them there. And some of them are 6th grade teachers that just don't have 6th graders first period. So they're all excited to be a part of it. Our ASB students who are 8th graders are actually going to be here as well in the morning, those first 2 days to help 6th graders navigate to their first period classes as well. So we have lots of support there, excited to welcome our students back.
Okay, another question, excuse me, another question about lunch. How are school lunches going to be prepared, distributed this year?
I'll let Mr. Francis take that one too.
Okay. School lunches will be provided by our kitchen staff each day. It's a sack lunch that they prepare for students. And so your student is welcome to bring their own if they like, but also the lunch will be available for them free of cost to them. So we'll have lines within the cafeteria that are socially distanced. They can grab a sack lunch and then they'll have an assigned seat to sit at within the cafeteria with their cohort of kids.
I would also add that breakfast is an opportunity. Students can also bring home a breakfast every day as they leave school. If they would like one for the next morning. We'll not do breakfast here at school, but have a chance to have a grab and go breakfast as well that they can take home and be able to eat in the morning before they come to school the next day.
This question has to do with masks. How are you going to make sure kids follow masks, distancing rules, and what is the protocols if they don't follow those rules?
Yeah, I think, as we welcome students back, the first thing we're going to do is be proactive and teach and outline, here's the protocol for mask wearing, and this needs to be in place and needs to be followed. And as we do that, we will have an opportunity to, at times, I'm sure, encourage and remind and reinforce in positive ways too when students are doing those things. If there's a particular student who's struggling, obviously it'll be like we do with other things. We will offer them an opportunity to reteach and so forth, and then move forward to, if need be, reach out to parents and seek their support in reinforcing that as well. So, but it is something that we're going to expect from students. And, you know, and watching some of the elementary and visiting some of those other schools, they've done well. And I'm confident that our Horizon students will do the same. They, in talking to them, they miss school. They want to be back in school for the most part. And I anticipate that they'll take this expectation on as we outline that expectation and follow it with a high rate of success.
There's a few questions, some about family members and carpools. Are we allowed to pick up students of family, friends, and carpool?
I think I can kind of start there, Mr. Wolcott. We are discouraging carpools to happen for multi-families just because of the contact time and the contact tracing. If there was an incident, we'd have to go back and contact trace how they got to school, where they were at during school, and so forth. So we are hoping that people will bring their own students to school, and it'll just make things easier if there was an issue with a ill student.
Another scheduling couple of questions. What time will walkers be dismissed? And then at the same time, how do we know when to pick our kids up if it's a rolling pickup?
So walkers will be released on a gradual release schedule that we've created for teachers. So, you know, from right around 2:05, we will start to release walkers slowly, one at a time from classrooms. And that rolling dismissal will also, we'll use the Google Sheets. As families come to pick up their student, we'll put their number, the student number, in the Google Sheet. And as soon as that pops up, we'll release that student. So there shouldn't be a long wait for the student and the parent, you know, to get back together again and get picked up. So the time should be pretty quick.
I think that the message is, sometimes the wording we use probably is create some confusion. It is staggered in the sense of, when you show up after 2:05, you can pick up a child. It's not that here's a designated time for this student to be picked up. It is when you show up and your number's in the dashboard of your, or in the front window of your car, your student will be released. So there's not a specific time that you need to pick up for your specific student. It'll just be where you're at in the line of cars and so forth that they'll be released. And like Mr. Francis said, with walkers, most of them will be released probably by 2:15 or so as we transition them out of the building at the end of the day.
There seems to be a few questions about laptops and or Chromebooks. Are laptops or Chromebooks staying in the classroom when the students are doing their outside time? Some people are concerned about children carrying computers back and forth from home to school. Are there other options for students if they aren't bringing a computer back and forth? We can start with those couple.
Yeah, I think with the Chromebooks, they'll be packing them as they go throughout their day. If there's concerns that you have individually about them taking if they have a Chromebook that belongs to school, but another device that they can use at home, and you don't want that Chromebook going back and forth, please reach out to us. Or if it's a personal device that you don't necessarily want them taking back and forth between home and school, reach out to us and we can develop a plan or work that out. But for the most part, if they have a Chromebook that belongs to the school, we'll ask that they follow that and take it with them. As far as the only time that they wouldn't have their backpack and things with them possibly could be when they're going outside at lunchtime. And we can even those can depend on the day and the weather. Sometimes they might go outside, sometimes not, but we can work out a plan if there's a big concern about that piece. So certainly can talk through that with anybody. Don't hesitate to reach out with the technology pieces and any concerns that you might have there with transporting devices and where they'll be and that kind of deal.
Another question on scheduling. Does this scheduling affect the kids in special education that are already attending in person?
Oh, great question. Those students that have already been attending in person, as we do our AB cohort days over those 4 days that we're doing that, those sixth graders can continue to come in person like they have been. And then as they go, as we have them all back in class, they'll just be attending their classes in person instead of virtually like they've been doing here at the school. So they'll still be coming to the school on all the days. And then when we're back with all the sixth graders in the class at one time, they'll be attending class just like all the other students are.
A couple of questions about buses. When will we find out what buses the kids will be able to ride? And then another kind of follow-up on that one. Just a moment, I apologize. I thought I had it here. Let's start with that one. I'll find the other one.
Yeah, I will, if you go to the cvsd.org webpage and click on transportation, there is a link right there that has bus routes. I checked it this afternoon and it seems they have them posted already for the new routes that start on Thursday. And I will email that out as well. But it is there on the website, again, cvsd.org. Click on transportation and I think it takes you right to the web page there. In fact, I may be able to send it. I'll have Mr. Francis answer the next question. I'll try to send it out as a chat so everybody has the link.
How can we find out if there is capacity for our child to ride on the bus if needed?
That's a great question. I know that buses will be at 50% capacity. Transportation will let us know if they're going over that. And then from there, it will be just communication to families so that we can figure out or transportation can figure out another plan if they'd add another route and so forth. So they won't crowd a bus for the sake of getting kids to school. They would either add another route, communicate with us and let us know what's going on. But in the end, transportation is great, but we are still asking if parents are able to drop off for right now. But hopefully that won't become an issue.
There's a few questions in here about cleaning classes in between when the students are there. Are we asking students to do any of the cleaning? What type of cleaners are being used between classes for students? Those are similar type of questions here.
I'll let Mr. Francis answer that one.
Okay. In between classes, teachers have been provided a cleaner called Alpha that they will spray down on tables and seats and chairs that students were on. Students will be asked to use a paper towel just to wipe that down so that they're ready for the next group of kids that would come in and so forth. So that is our protocol that we would do in between classes.
And that Alpha cleaner is an effective cleaner for COVID, but also safe for students to use and help with wiping down surfaces and so forth.
Will kids have the opportunity to set any meetings with teachers, math help, those kinds of things, or will those still be set via Zoom after school hours?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for the most part, we're going to continue, to have some of those office hours from that, once school gets out till 3. Some of that may need to happen via Zoom. Obviously, teachers want to help students and be successful. So if there is a need, obviously we want students to reach out to their teachers. If there's a need that it needs to happen in person, then the teacher can touch base with Mr. Francis and I, and we can see how we can make sure we're doing what we need to do as far as procedures and so forth are followed. But certainly, I think Zoom would certainly be the preference. But if it needs to happen in person, I'm sure that we can figure out some way to make that happen as well.
Another person says they believe they understand this week and Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday next week. Then is everyone coming next Friday? And then does it start up every day following that, the weeks after that?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, so next Thursday, all sixth graders will come back on the same day, and then we'll continue forward from there. All sixth graders every day for the full day as they come to school. As we set up this year, we did set our schedule so that they were lower class sizes so that students can be socially distanced in the classrooms. Even though we started out virtually, we anticipated coming back to in person. And so our class sizes are drastically lower than what they typically are for a sixth grade classroom throughout the year, whether it was virtually and now in person. And so all students will be back in sixth grade in their classes moving forward on that Thursday, the 21st, and going forward from there.
Back to a lunch question, I believe. Will they be posting menus as they've done in the past for lunch? And are teachers allowing snacks in the classroom that allow the masks to come off?
Yeah, I guess I'll research the lunch. I know our lunch options are drastically reduced. Usually we have 3 or 4 different options. We're gonna have 2 options for the grab and go lunch bags. As far as the snacks go, we are kind of discouraging students or teachers not to have like this open snack time during the day in the classroom, just because there's, we're trying to limit the mask coming off. But if a student needs a snack or they're really at that point where a snack is needed, we certainly can work it out with a teacher or with a student in order to make that happen. But we are discouraging kind of a, hey, it's snack time for the whole class type of thing at one time.
A cell phone question. What kind of rules do you have for kids bringing cell phones to schools? Will they be stored in a sleeve or asked to be kept in a bag? Will there be a certain time that they might be able to use them?
Great question. What we're asking students to do if they choose to bring a cell phone to school is once they come through the doors and they're in the school, we're asking them to turn those phones off and put those in their backpack for the school day. They can use those again at 2:05 once the school day is done. If there's a situation where a student needs to contact a parent or check their phone, I would just simply ask them to talk to their teacher so we can make an arrangement for that. But we don't want cell phones out during the school day or even during that rolling start once they're in the building at 8:30, or if they get there at 8:35, that 8:35, 8:30 time to 8:50, we want those cell phones put away. Teachers will have some extended learning opportunities for students to do. They'll be able to use the Chromebooks that they bring if there's something that they need to work on, but we are asking that those cell phones be put away throughout the course of the school day.
So for the days when our cohort is not attending in person, like this Thursday or Friday, do the students still need to log in online?
Yeah, they're not going to do a virtual class like they've been doing where they, show up at, 9:50 and need to log into class. But teachers are planning to give them some assignments either through Google Classroom or Blackboard that students can be working on at home during the day that they're not at school. So if they're in cohort A, that'd be some assignments given so they can work on them on Friday at home. But again, it's not to log into class or virtually be in class, just some assignments that they can be working on during those 2 days that they're not in school, where the other half the class is at school.
Will Blackboard and Google Classroom still be available and used as kids go back to in-person?
Go ahead, Mr. Francic.
Absolutely, yes. Those will still be in place. And the idea there too is if a classroom or even if a school had to go back to virtual, we could do that seamlessly. So teachers will be updating their classrooms daily as they're putting in assignments and so forth. So our goal obviously is to stay here at school in person, but if we had to leave, we could easily switch back over to virtual.
It says, looking at the bus routes, our neighborhood does not have a stop. Do we need to contact transportation, or will the school do that?
Either way works. If you want to contact transportation, feel free to give them a call, or you can shoot me an email as well, and we can assist with making that connection as well if you're not seeing a stop that's in your neighborhood. Either way would work.
I think we've covered most all of them for the most part. There is one question on here. I'm not sure if you're in a position to answer that, but it is, have all teachers and staff been vaccinated?
You know, at this point, teachers and staff, to my knowledge, have not been vaccinated. I know that in looking at just what I'm seeing online, that possibly some teachers in February can begin to become vaccinated. So, you know, I know some, you know, would like to do that as soon as possible. But at this point, I don't know of any that have been vaccinated.
And for maybe as a final question, maybe go over that first day one more time. There's somebody here who said that they have some nervous students going into a new school that they've never seen before. So maybe kind of a quick overview of that first day once again.
Yeah, absolutely. And know that that's in the top of our minds as well, that we want to welcome these sixth graders to middle school for the first time, not only as middle schoolers, but also in the midst of this unique year and what the nervousness of this must feel like for them. So the day will happen if they are coming to school on bus or walking. They'll enter the school on the south side. If they're getting dropped off, it'll be on the east side in the valet. And we will have people there to welcome them, obviously to do the screening, but also just to welcome them and say, welcome to middle school. As they come through the doors, we'll have people there to direct them where they'll go so that they'll be able to find their class and do so according to the protocols and so forth. And as far as moving through the building, all sixth graders will be upstairs for their first class period. So they'll work their way upstairs. During first period, teachers have, you know, not only the protocols, but just back to school things that they typically do that they'll be reviewing with students. During that first period, Mr. Francic and I will go around and actually, we gave the schedule out to teachers today, grab their students, I don't know, probably not the right word. We'll get the class and take them on a tour of the school, show them the school, give them a chance to see lunch protocols, see where their second period class is, their third period class is, how they're going to transition in the building to those places. Really focused on welcoming them and letting them feel, you know, just that first day of middle school. So as the day wraps up, you know, they'll be dismissed as we've kind of outlined, kind of that staggered dismissal based on when their ride gets here or when their class is assigned to leave as walkers or when their bus arrives. But, you know, we are excited to have them here. All the teachers are going to review the protocols in all the classes, just so it's really clearly outlined and retaught as they, you know, understand and do school here at Horizon for the first time. So, but we're super excited to have them and know that our first objective of that day is to welcome them as middle schoolers and as Horizon Hawks and help them to feel connected to the school and to each other and to their teachers for in-person learning. So anyway, I want to thank you for being here tonight. I want to thank Mr. Daly for his time to moderate. And thank you for joining us again. We're excited for your students to be here on Thursday or Friday, depending on which cohort they are. In the meantime, please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions or concerns that you might have. We're certainly here to help where we can. So It's great that you're here, and we look forward to seeing sixth graders on Thursday and Friday. Have a great night.